Well, hello guys. I am back with another video, and I am Darlene here at Her Secret Garden V-Steam and Spa in beautiful Frisco, Texas. And I wanted to talk about the menstrual cycle. So when you come in for your V-Steam here at Her Secret Garden, we have an intake form. So there's an intake form that you have to fill out. And it's 4 pages, 4 or 5 pages long, front and back. And so it's kind of extensive, but it really helps us figure out the blend that you need and kind of go through some things that will help you with the issues that you are dealing with. So that's why we have this intake form. Now, one thing that I noticed about the intake form is that there's a question on here that everyone gets caught up with. And the question is regarding your menstrual cycle. And it asks, are your menstrual cycles 28 days or longer? Yes or no? Or do you ever have menstrual cycles 27 days or less? And no one ever answers this question right. So I thought it only makes sense to do a video about it, because I don't think we as women know what we're asking when someone says your menstrual cycle. People assume I'm asking, do they bleed for 28 days or more, or 27 days or less? And that's not what the menstrual cycle is. The menstrual cycle is that whole time period that we use to count for all of the different phases, the follicular phase, the ovulation phase, the luteal phase, and the actual period where you're bleeding. So how you count your menstrual cycle is from the first day of your last period to that day before your next period. All of those days in between are considered your menstrual cycle. So a normal menstrual cycle is 28 to 31 days, and then a short cycle is considered 27 days or less. So I've seen some women have short cycles, so they get a period every 21 days. So usually it's about 21 to 27 days is considered a short cycle. So let's discuss, okay? How do you count? How do you figure out? What does it mean? Why is it important? Well, it's very important as women that we know and track our menstrual cycle every month. There's so much associated with your menstrual cycle, different ailments, skin issues. Some women have reoccurrent yeast or bacterial problems once they ovulate, or right after their period. So when you track it, you can go to your doctor if you're having situations where you can't control, or you can't diagnose, or you can't heal yourself and you need to go to the doctor. You have the information that you need, and you can say, hey, this is what's happened. It's happened these last 3 months. It happens every single on day 26 or day 25 or whatever of the month. I get a yeast infection. Something's not right. Most likely it's some sort of hormonal imbalance, because during the different stages we have estrogen and progesterone in our bodies going like this, you know. And so when we can understand ourselves better, it just opens up a whole new level of self-love and self-care, because self-care is not just the massages and the facials and the bubble baths and the spiritual baths. Self-care is knowing who you are and what you need and what your body needs. And so as women, that is probably the most important thing to know every month, if you still have cycles, is what kind of cycle do you have? How many days is your cycle? How many days do you bleed? Does it come every 28 days, every 29 days? Like, these are things that we should know. When are you ovulating? Do you know when you're ovulating? So let's go through the 4 phases. I was going to steam, so I had started my steam. So let me just turn my steam seat off, and then I will go through the 4 stages with you guys, because I steam on a regular basis twice a month. And I used to have a short period. I used to have a 25 to 27 day cycle, and I am now up to 29 to 31 day cycles. So steaming does work to help lengthen the period, and it helps with PMS symptoms, and it helps with fertility, and it helps with hormones. And so that's another reason why it's so important to know your menstrual cycle. So hold on. I just had to turn my water down, and I'll steam once I'm done with my video. But so let's talk about the 4 stages of your menstrual cycle. Stage 1 is menstruation, or your period. It's when you're bleeding. Stage 1 lasts anywhere between 3 and 7 days. For some women, for me, I have a 3 to 4 day period, and I used to have a 7 day period. But once I started to do vaginal steaming, my period shortened to 4 days. Now, some women, I have clients that love the short cycles and hated the 7 day cycles. I have some women that don't really care, but that first phase is your actual period, is when you are bleeding. So you bleed anywhere between 3 and 7 days, right? That's considered normal. I don't know if 7 days is considered normal, but that's what we've been taught, that 7 days is considered normal. So we're just going to go with that for right now. And the next stage is the follicular stage. Now, the follicular stage is the period between your period or your menstruation and ovulation. So that's the time when your estrogen is rising in your body, right? This is the time for me where I get like a little bit of crampies. If you have fibroids, you'll probably feel them a little bit more, because fibroids are an estrogen issue, an estrogen problem. And so this is the time when your estrogen is rising to get your body ready for ovulation, right? So phase 3 is ovulation. Ovulation is when you are the most fertile. It is when your egg is released from the ovaries and is implanted into the uterus, right? During ovulation, that's when I steam, is right during ovulation. I like to steam. So my steam schedule is twice a month, and I steam about a day or two after my cycle has ended, my period has ended, and then I steam around ovulation, And for me, that helps. It helps with mood swings. It helps with any cramping or pain. I used to have this really bad pain when I ovulated. I could actually feel it, and I don't have that anymore. And so that's why I steam during that time, and that just works for me, and I haven't had any issues. So. And then our last phase is the luteal phase. Now, the luteal phase is a time between ovulation and when your next cycle shows up. But it's also the time where our bodies are as women, because when you have your cycle is meant for pregnancy, right? So as a woman, your body is preparing for pregnancy. We are thinking that we're going to be pregnant, and so we are preparing for pregnancy during the luteal phase. So this is when progesterone peaks, but then it also drops. So that's why during this phase you have considered PMS symptoms. So if that egg is not fertilized, then the progesterone then drops, right? So that's why we have PMS. Well, that's why you guys have PMS, because I don't have PMS anymore. But then that's another great thing to know. You want to know what's going on in your body so that you know what's going on in your body, right? Why do I have these mood swings? Why am I tired? Why am I bloated? Why do I have a headache? Well, this is the stage that you're at. I'm trying to avoid pregnancy. Okay, well then don't have sex during ovulation, because that's when you can get pregnant. I keep getting these reoccurring issues when my estrogen rises. Okay, then we have a hormone issue and you need to get your hormones checked. Like, once you know your body, things just flow so much better. You're just so much more in tune with yourself as a woman. And like I said, it's just a practice of self-love, getting to know oneself. That's what self-love is. So those are the 4 stages. We have menstruation, we have ovulation, we have menstruation, we have the follicular phase, we have ovulation, and then we have the luteal phase. And so those phases make up your menstrual cycle, right? So the first day of your period to that day before or the first day of the next period, that time period in between is your menstrual cycle, right? So, stress. What can stress do to your cycle? Stress should be taught in school. It really should, because stress is harm to the body as a whole, right? So, as a woman, it affects our digestive system, our nervous system, circulatory system, immune system, and reproductive system. It actually, stress affects every system of the body, basically. But for us, stress is going to directly affect your menstrual cycle. So you want to manage your stress. You want to make sure that the things, the people, the places that you go are edifying and encouraging and positive and uplifting. You also have to manage the worry and the stress between your ears as well, because we stress ourselves out and then we internalize life. We internalize control. We internalize every situation, and because we are taught to be negative, most likely we're internalizing all these negative thoughts, and it's directly affecting you. If you have any issues, endometriosis or PCOS or cysts or fibroids or long painful periods, or a lot of clotting during your period, or black blood, or you have cramps so bad that you have to wear a heating pad, all of these things, if you bleed for a really long time, like more than 7 days, some women bleed for like 12 days, and it's stress. It is stress. It is a lack of sleep for a lot of us. Stress comes in our body, it wreaks havoc, it causes all kinds of diseases, it causes all kinds of illnesses and viruses. If we could get rid of stress, we could get rid of so much. So as a woman, realize your stress, realize where we hold on to our stress, oftentimes in our stomach and our womb, and try to do things that kind of alleviate stress. Meditate, make sure that you're getting enough sun every day. If you're in a warm climate and you can go outside and sit in the sun, just go sit in the sun for 10 to 15 minutes. You don't even have to be doing anything. You don't have to be reading. You just go sit, go to the park and sit on the bench for 10 minutes, or go sit on your back porch or your front porch, or just interact with nature and with God and all his creations on a daily basis. And that is so helpful to you in your journey as a woman. So during our period also, it's a detox, right? So when we are shedding that egg and we are getting a new lining, it is our body's natural detox. And so during that time, as women, it's not a time to be closed off, or to be the things that we're taught to be, hide, lay in the bed, complain, have an attitude, eat a whole bunch of unhealthy foods. All of the things that we're taught to do during our period, we should not be doing, because this is a time that our body is releasing and then renewing, right? And so that transformation time, we should be manifesting during that time. We should be taking spiritual baths during that time. We should be loving on ourselves during that time. We should be resting during that time. That time is a wonderful and beautiful time that we get once a month, that the Most High has given us, that we should be really praising ourselves for the beautiful goddesses that we are. It is a beautiful time a month, and we should make sure that we are taking care of ourselves, eating right, like I said, getting sun, getting rest, making sure that the people around you are encouraging and edifying and positive, and not putting you down, not making you feel bad, not stressing you out during that time, right? And then another thing, or the last thing, is track your period. And I started with track your period. That's why you should track your period. How do you track your period? On your phone. We're attached to our phones. We do everything on our phones, right? There is an app for that. I use Flow, F-L-O, but there are several different period trackers. I don't really have a preference. That's just the one that I use. But you can use any period tracker. You put in the day of your period, and it will do everything else for you. It'll tell you when you're ovulating. It'll tell you, you know, why you just had a breakout on your chin. It'll tell you, you know, everything. And so we should be paying more attention to our bodies, especially as women, because we have this monthly cycle that goes on in our life every single month. If you still have, like I said, if you still have your menstrual cycle, that tells us so much about ourselves. So I hope that this video was helpful. I hope that it gave you a little bit of insight. I hope that when you guys come in and you have that question on the intake form, you are now going to be able to answer the question and not leave it blank or answer it wrong, because I use that question to choose your herbal blends as well. So there are herbal blends based on your cycle, and then there are herbal blends based on your symptoms. So I use that question and I use the symptoms and I kind of weigh them out, and then that's how I choose your herbal blend. So I hope this information was helpful to you. I hope that you would use it as a guide. I hope that you would download that period tracker if you have not already. And if you love this video, if you like this video, please hit the like. Please hit the follow if you're on Instagram, or please hit the subscribe if you're on YouTube, because I have lots and lots and lots of information for you guys that I can't wait to share. So thank you again so much. This is Darlene with Her Secret Garden, and blessings. Bye.